Hi, my name's Joann Wallace. You probably know me as Corsana from Discord at CU Unlimited or as Zero's Angels on my blog, angelscitadel.com. It's a new thing. So, today I'd like to welcome you to my first ever video focusing on the biggest complaint that I've heard is that as awesome as Roll20 is, it's not exactly intuitive. So, I'm going to try to address that now. So the first thing you'll notice is that I've been playing and doing this a while. And I like Roll20. It's a great resource for gamers who can't really go out, especially during this pandemic. The first thing you're going to want to look at is creating a new game. Right there, bright pink button, can't miss it. So as it loads up, you're going to see that you've got to start a new game, name and tags. You'll have seen this on my blog, but some people learn better with videos. Once more, we are going to call this test game. We can tag it, but you don't have to. Next is your character sheet. When you pop up the dialog box, you're going to see a lot of options. Since we're doing the Cypher system, we want Cypher Systems by Roll20. It brings up this image that shows you that you've chosen the right one. If you had chosen something else, it'd be a different image. Now you click Ready, Create Game, and it brings you to the Game Home screen. The Game Home screen is where you change a lot of settings, add images, call it, such as what you're playing, in this case the Cypher System, when your next game will be. We're going to do it today, right now. And then you can enter description. Test game for video. Obviously, I'm not very inventive when it comes to stuff like this. You click Save Changes, and it's right there. Now, game add-ons are things like decks or maps. I also have the Pathfinder playtest flip map multi-pack, so you can add that if you have it. In our case, we're going to add the Cypher decks. The Cypher decks, have we mentioned we like decks? The Cypher deck makes it to where you don't have to fill in the character sheet as much. However, if you don't have it, that's okay too. I'm going to go ahead and add it to my game so I can show you how it uses. Now we're going to launch the game. During that section, you probably would have seen ads unless you're a Plus subscriber like me. First channel is the chat. This is the first button, couple of chat bubbles at the top. Player link for this campaign is, and when you right click it, it's going to pop up a window. You want to copy link address. If you're using Discord, like the Cypher Unlimited Discord, you'll want this because you'll want to share the link address with your players so that they can join the game. The next is your assets. These are your tokens or maps you've uploaded, premium assets you can get access to, or your library. The next is the journal. As you can see, the Cypher deck is there. I'm going to add a character sheet. You can also use folders to keep things organized. I highly recommend it, especially if you're going to have a bunch of handouts and characters. So we're going to click character first. Now, it doesn't look much like a character sheet, but this is the basic general information. First is your player. I always put in the name of the player that's going to be used. In this case, it's going to be player 1. In Players Journals brings up a drop-down box. I like dropping all of them into all of the players' journals. That way they can see who they're playing with. If that's not there, they can't see who they're playing with. Can be edited and controlled by. Now, if I had a player joining, his name would show up here. Instead, I'm just going to put it in mine. I recommend that you only have it edited and controlled by the person who's going to be playing that character. Now, to drop a file from your art library or computer, you can drag and drop, which means you go grab it from your screen, or you click to upload. I prefer click to upload. It's a little faster to me, but you do you. Now, I've got a lovely avatar picture for my character. So I'm going to click Save Changes. Next, you've got your bio and info. Now for character sheet. As you can see, instead of just popping up a character sheet, I get a dialog box. The dialog box is what defines your sheet style, your roles type, the misc, which is what it looks like, the background, whether you want an image or a solid color, what you're going to use, and then you've got your API buttons. Don't worry about the API buttons. Those are only for pro members, and I'm not a pro, so I don't use it. Now, since when I did the blog, I used the Cypher System, in this case, I'm going to use Numenera. We're going to leave it at roll queries because I want you to see what happens when you use it. And then you've got your assets, bonuses, and costs. I always click those because it helps. Then you close this, and it brings you to your character sheet. Now, yes, you can go back into it to change things. That's this little cog right here to show and hide settings. You click that, it brings the dialog box right back up. So we've got player 1. So we're going to name it. In this case, let's call the character Josephina. And I always like to have my players put their name in parentheses after the character name. That's because when they roll for that character, it's going to pop up in the chat window. We're going to make a stealthy Jack who bears a halo of fire. Obviously, these are all Numenera, and Numenera belongs to Monte Cook Games, just so we're clear. Now, I like zeroing out all of the might, the edge, all of this, even though it takes a little bit of extra time at the beginning to do so, simply for the fact that when I start actually creating the character and doing the math portion, it's easier to add to 0 than it is to try and figure out if you've actually added something. So like if I chose fast, it's a +2 to speed, so I would put a 2 here. But in this case, we're not going to worry about the numbers. I'm just going to generate them later. Next is your skills. So this is where you're going to put your numbers of what your might, speed, and intellect pools are. This is skills. This section of skills, right here, you're going to click the plus button. Now, I'm going to just type in understanding Numenera as something that my character is intellect, stat, so stat is going to be intellect, trained, and I'm going to say my Jack's trained in understanding Numenera. The description, I understand Numenera. Then you click out. You can also add more. Let's say I am trained in might defense tasks. So you change your stat to might and then trained. But let's say you've got an ability. Let's say my character has an inability with pleasant social interactions. It's intellect because social. And then I come over here and I change the level from trained to inability. Now at tier 1, you don't get to be specialized, except in very rare cases. But for the most part, you don't get to be specialized. So that covers the skills. Special abilities, that's the stuff you get. In this case, I'm going to say that my character special ability is flame breath. I don't think it actually exists in Numenera. Let's say it's an action and it costs 2 intellect. Cost me 2 points from intellect. Shoots a gout of flame from mouth. it's an okay descriptor. Now, you see these arrows, you're going to want to click them to where they're pointing up. Because you'll notice if they're pointing down, stuff fades out at the bottom. If they're pointing up, that means it's easier to see and fill in more stuff. Now, background, you can use the background for one of two ways. Way one is you actually put in background information. Way two is that in Cypher System, you get player intrusions. Player intrusions are when you get to use experience points to change the flavor of the game to benefit you or your group when you're playing. I typically use it for both the player intrusions and the minor and major effects. More detail on that later. So, next up is attacks. When you select your attack, you've got your attack. So in this case, I'm going to say it's a light weapon. Let's call it a whip. So the stat for weapons is light. Modification is 2 or 0. Damage is 2. However, light weapons are eased and it doesn't cost anything. Distance is immediate, which is typical for whips. Now let's say my breath weapon, my special ability breath weapon is an attack. So I'm going to add it here. We're going to call it breath weapon. Comes from intellect. It's trained. And it costs 2 points. Distance, you can change the distance. Immediate, short, long. We're going to say that my breath weapon is a short distance. And it does 4 damage. We'll say that it's a medium weapon. And obviously you need to change your stat to intellect. So, each class that has special abilities that do attacks or certain artifacts that do attacks, you want to put them in here. And the reason why you do that is for when you need to roll it later, it's a lot easier. Next is your weapons. In this case, I like putting the weapons, or if I'm using a bow or a buzzer or any other weapon that has ammo, you put it here and then you can add your ammunition. And your description. We'll come back to advancement. So, next we're going to come over here. The first part up here is the tier, effort, and XP. Your tier and effort is what your tier is, and effort is how much you can add to a roll. So if you're tier 1, you only get to add 1 effort. If you're tier 2 and you've paid for one of your advancements was adding to effort, then you got effort. Then you upgrade that to 2. Next is your recovery. Your recovery is your tier plus 1d6. You get 4, obviously, and each time you roll, so your first one is free, that's your 1 action. When you roll at the second one, 10 minutes. Third one is your 1 hour. Fourth one is 10 hours. You notice that I clicked check marks with each time. Sometimes it does it automatically, other times you have to do it manually. Just keep an eye as to what you are, where you're at. Now, for your Cypher limits, you've got 2, which is most, or 3, which is like the nano. The nano can have 3. The plus sign over here gives you your Cypher. So first you've got your Cypher. We're going to say that I have a Cypher of ducks. We're going to call it a level 4 Cypher, and then we describe what it does. Creates rubber ducks and fills a 10 by 10 foot area, causing distraction and creating difficult terrain. all speed tests hindered by 3. Or all speed tests require a difficulty 3 balance roll. Now, when I click outside of that box, it creates it. Now, if we're looking at the chat channel, you can see where I've rolled the recovery rolls. Obviously, it's showing that I'm dead because all my stats are still at 0. When I click the little chat box next to the deck cipher, it brings it up showing what I typed, which makes it a lot easier for the GM if you're having to type in your ciphers. Armor is armor. If you're wearing light armor, it's 1, etc., etc. And you just put that number in here. How much it costs and speed costs. Now, don't misunderstand the speed cost. Okay? Make sure you read that carefully. And we're going to say that I have 100 shins. Shins are the money in Numenera. When you're adding items, it's once more the plus Explorers pack quantity 1. Now, artifacts are similar to ciphers, only instead of just being 1 use, it's a depletion. The depletion is the drop-down menu. 1d6, 1d10, 1d20, 1d100, or never. There are very, very, very few artifacts that are never. So when you do your advancements, which is this center one, you write it in and then you make the advancement. That way you know what you've done. So we are going to fill in numbers for my might, speed, and intellect. I will put a 1 in edge, or a 1 edge in speed. Now, that way my character is no longer dead. So, now we're going to go over the roll queries rolling. To roll query, it's you click this button. Any of these buttons will bring up the dialog box. Not the chat, the D20s. In this case, we're going to go ahead and use attack because attack has an extra query that the skills don't. Input value. Bonus is the input value. So if you're using a light weapon, it's eased by 1. It's literally in the book. All light weapons are eased by 1. Click submit. Brings up the next one. This is your difficulty. How hard is it to hit? We're going to say that it's a level 4 difficulty to hit something with the whip. Your GM makes that call. Effort to roll. I want to throw in a point of effort to roll. Or do I? Now, according to Raw, you can either put in effort to roll or effort to damage. So think about that. So I'm going to do effort to damage. For this case, input value. Do I have any assets? That will come in with your special abilities because some special abilities, if you're fighting with somebody else, you get an asset. I'm going to say that I'm fighting this monster with somebody else, so I get a 1 asset. Now, cost value. This is what you put in if you're using, like, your intellect weapon. How the cost is 2, that's when you put in the cost. In this case, I'm just using the whip, so there is no cost to use it. Next is effort to damage. I'm going to put that 1 effort that I decided not to do with roll and put it to damage. Hit submit, and then it rolls. And oh look! I rolled a nat 20. Now, with a nat 20, you get major effect or a +4 to damage. You pretty much talk to your GM about what kind of major effect you want to have, or you use one of the major effects that your character gets. I I have used the whip to trip people and knock them prone to where the next time they have to get up, it takes them an action. So this covers the character sheet. Now, when you're adding your token, you pick it up and you drop it on the character sheet. As you can see, it makes it nice, neat, and tidy. Now, remember how I was talking about before with the selected tokens? I'm going to show you that now. So, you click over here to edit. My token selected, use selected token. Save changes. Now, as the GM, see the dialog box pop up? Yeah. So, you're going to click Settings, Advanced, Player C, and this lets you set what your light is, how far you can see, basics, ta-da! So that's how you add your tokens. Now, I'm as the GM, I can just well, it's supposed to work that way. As you can see, there's, well, actually, no, you can't see, but so I've gone over the character sheet. The additional stuff will need to be gone over later in Roll20. I can probably do another video, but that's how you create the character sheet, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will try and catch you on See You later.